Hey, so I like to use shellac in the shop for varnish touch-up, also for French polishing. So today I'm going to show you how I make my own shellac. I start with shellac crystals. This is a garnet shellac, okay? And then this is denatured alcohol, and this is Everclear. Up until about 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, I used denatured alcohol exclusively. And then I was noticing some health issues, and some friends shared some thoughts about denatured alcohol. I had always thought that denatured alcohol was just poisonous, where if you ingested it, you would throw up, so that kids wouldn't buy it and use it for, drinking, so they could get across the tax laws. Well, that's not true. It's deadly to ingest. It's deadly if you get too much on your skin, can cause major issues. So I don't use this at all anymore. I only use Everclear. It's a pure grain alcohol. So with all that jargon, I'm going to show you what I do to make shellac. So I don't use a lot of science when I am first putting it together. Get my little packets out. I'm just going, because you can thin it down later. All right, I just pour some crystals in, just kind of filling the bottom. I try not to make too much because it's such an easy thing to make. You can make it and it can be fresh. I have had shellac go bad, just kind of gets gunky, doesn't dry as well. So, all right, so eventually we're going to add the alcohol. But to make dissolving easier, I take my mallet. I'm just going to help crush it. We've even done this in like a blender or a magic bullet before, but it's actually kind of excessive. This does the job just fine. Just trying to kind of crush it, get it not like sawdust, not that thin, but get it so it's not just a bunch of huge pieces. You can do it without taking this step, but it definitely speeds up the process. All right, now I'm going to add the Everclear. So you can see. If you want to get sciencey, I would say this is probably 2/3 Everclear to 1/3 shellac crystals. All right, so we have this, and then I'm just gonna give it a shake. Okay, still tons of little granules in there, and what I will be doing over the next I don't know. I could do this the rest of the day, just come by and shake it every 15 minutes or so, or you can just shake it for 30 minutes and it gets really close, and then you could strain it. But I like to just give it a shake, come back. And so in a moment you'll see, after it being shaken for a little bit, you'll see what a nice mixture of shellac looks like. All right, so I probably worked another 20 minutes with the shellac before I left for the day yesterday. And here's our jar. And before I left, I was still giving it lots of shakes as I was coming through. And there would be some just kind of sticking at the bottom. And I thought, okay, in the morning, I'm probably gonna have to do the shake thing more. But I come in today and it's actually perfect. I let it sit just to make sure I wasn't wishful thinking, and there's no granules in it. It is ready to go. This is what I consider an uncut batch of shellac, so pretty thick, pretty dark, but I like to make it this way, and then I can thin it down as I choose for the application. So what I'm going to do is suit up and put a couple little test strips on a couple different species of wood. So I'll do that. All right, before we apply the shellac, we're going to thin it down. This is what I call an uncut shellac. So it's the crystals and just enough alcohol basically to cover it, plus about a third, as I showed in the beginning of the video. So what we're going to do is thin it down. You can see, just to give you an idea what it would do, this is the uncut. Just I took a little dab, and I'm going to just pull it across right here at the end of this ash. Okay, and you can see how inconsistent it is because of all the squirrely grain. So that's not what I want, especially for my first coat. So we're going to go ahead and seal it. Let me set this aside somewhere. Don't want to get dust on it. Okay, so I'm just going to give it another little shake. All right, so what I'm going to do is do like a half cut and test that out. I think it kind of goes without saying, most woodworkers do this, but you're going to want to do some test pieces, and that's what all three of these are, to figure out what you want for your shellac or whatever you're making and finishing. This is spruce, which is pretty main wood for making instruments. This is what I use for the tops. This is going to be, all these materials mimic what I'm doing for a cello. This is what the top's made out of. This is what the ribs and back are made from. And then so this is quilted ash. And then this is what the neck is made out of, which is a flamed maple. So these are my three test pieces, and that's why I'm making the shellac as well. So I'm going to do just a half and half. So this is our full strength shellac. I am just eyeballing. I'm not weighing or going wild with that. Okay. And then this is just Everclear. So we'll kind of fill up the same amount. All right. And then just give it a little spin. You know, the shellac is, as we discussed earlier, it's dissolved in alcohol, so these two want to mix pretty evenly. Doesn't take much. Still looks pretty thick. Yeah, we're gonna thin down even more. So I'm gonna basically double the alcohol, especially for a first little seal coat. All right. Okay, so again, this is spruce. We're gonna start there. I'm just wearing gloves for cleanliness. It's not to do with any harmful chemicals. Everclear or straight grain alcohol is not going to, it's not dangerous for your skin. All right, I only like to do half. Yeah, it's a lot more amber than my first go of this. It's like a nice honey blonde. And this is untreated wood, so none of this has been sealed with anything before this. Okay. And finally, the maple. Okay. After letting it dry, I wouldn't say it's cured, but after it's dried, here's what we're looking at. So this is the spruce again. Out of all three, this is the one that it soaked up inconsistently, but that's just part of the species of the wood. This is something that you would normally seal with something else. I've tried really thin coats of hide glue on top, or even just like a super thin down shellac, or even a thin oil base. There's so many different ways you could do it, but that's something I would definitely recommend for this one. All right, on to the quilted ash. It's very even. This is how I will seal this wood once it's time to start varnishing the cello. Okay, and then the maple, actually a little darker than how the ash took it. But that's what I would probably do when it's time. So that just gives you an idea what you're looking at. So just in closing, shellac is not scary. You can buy bullseye shellac made by Zinsser from any box store. It works just fine, but I like the control of being able to mix it myself, and I know how long it's been on the shelf. These crystals last a really long time if you have the drying packets in there. So I'll have a link to just one product, and that's the shellac crystals. Everyone should know where to find Everclear. Again, I really recommend using Everclear instead of denatured alcohol, just due to the cleanliness of it. And I hope you give it a go. It's a really fun thing to use. I'll try to do a video on how to apply like a nice thick layer of shellac, and then also maybe a French polishing using the shellac, which is the reason I made it today. So hope you enjoyed it. Go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel and the video, and make some varnish out there, guys.